People of YouTube, don't you dare be sour. Clap for good mic work commentaries and feel the power.
WWE Release-a-Palooza 2021 Part 2 took place yesterday as WWE executes 18 more stars, perfectly capable, good, hardworking stars, and lets them go in another humongous budget glut slew of releases and a lot of big surprising names on this one. Now, releases over the past 2 years have not been very surprising. WWE has released, I believe, close to 100 names, maybe more, since 2020, since the pandemic, since their business philosophy and model drastically changed from stockpiling and hoarding talent in order to starve all the indie federations and stunt their growth, to transitioning and completely pivoting into doing a much lighter, less deep roster featuring a lot less people. And I think the pandemic, the beginning of AEW, really had a lot to do with WWE kind of switching gears. That they went from trying to own the entire professional wrestling world, yes, world, not just the country, the world, to, just letting everybody go and let the indies and AEW do whatever they want to do. Very confusing, especially with some of these names. Releases are going to come every year, no matter what kind of position or situation the company is in. A lot of names yesterday weren't totally surprising. Some of the previous names in the last 3 or 4 batches of releases weren't surprising either. However, there was a ton of names that were incredibly surprising. I mean, this is right off the heels of Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt and Bronson Reed and guys like that who you thought had footholds in the company. And now, a couple new names, let go. Probably the biggest one I think that surprised the most was Nia Jax. I think that surprised more people, even more than Karrion Kross and Keith Lee, based on Nia and how long she's been there and shit. So just unbelievable how many names got released yesterday. And I'm sorry it's taken me 24 hours to get up here and do that. I had to go to work like just 2 hours after this news broke yesterday. So it was all kind of happening as I was getting ready. I had no time to come up yesterday and make any sort of a video about it, but I was okay with that because I figured if I let, 24 hours pass and let the night go by, I will be able to, and we will all be able to see a lot of, statements released from a lot of this talent, and maybe some of the dust will settle and we'll start hearing about the reasons for some of these releases due to, the various internet reports and whatnot, and we did. So we're going to kind of talk about all of that here and just kind of dive into it. We're going to discuss all the names that were released yesterday and individually what they were doing, what led to their releases, and how badly WWE fucked up. It amazes me for a company that is so concerned with their public image, how they can do this in just such bad taste. This news came just minutes after their Q3 earnings call, where WWE boasted record revenue and profits, $255 million for this quarter. It was up from last year because now we've got ticketed live events back, and WWE is doing an excellent job just putting out numbers like this in the face of a bad economy, inflation, a pandemic, competition for the first time, and they're still able to put up numbers like this. And it's because it's corporate America and it's cutthroat. And I advise anybody who's young and maybe in college or looking to go start a career somewhere, stay the fuck out of corporate America. It is heartless and so ridiculous, and I don't even know where to begin. So we're going to kind of get into all the releases. Like I said, I want to thank everybody for being here on a very odd Friday afternoon time. I'm up here at 5 p.m. on the East Coast, only 2 o'clock here for me on the West Coast, but I got a big night ahead of me here at work. I got the Breeders' Cup in town, so it's just a nightmare of a weekend for me. So having to deal with these releases, we got a podcast tomorrow and all that stuff. By the way, we will be up here at normal time for the Winged Eagle tomorrow. We'll talk about SmackDown tonight. We'll talk about Rampage. And then on Sunday, I was planning a watch-along. I'm scrapping it. I don't have time to do one on Sunday, and I think you guys are going to see me every Sunday throughout the duration of the year. So we're going to take this Sunday off, then we're going to pick up with some Survivor Series watch-alongs leading up to Survivor Series, and then in December, we have no pay-per-view. So We're going to do a lot of watch-alongs throughout December, Christmas-themed episodes, shit like that. Sundays will be fun from, through the duration of the year, but we will not be here 2 days from now. Just want to give you guys that little programming note, but join us tomorrow for the podcast, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll talk all about Rampage, SmackDown, and any other fallout and news that we've gotten regarding all of these WWE releases. Let's get into the names here, but before I do that, I just want to say hi to everybody that's in the chat. Good to see you guys. Glad we got some monkey wrenches in here. I'd shout out you guys individually, but we got to keep things moving here today and get going because I don't have a ton of time to talk about this. And I want to detail a lot of it here. We got a lot to discuss. I want to thank Tyson Neblet for the $5 super chat. Thank you, man. It's been 70 wrestlers been released in this year. That is sad. 70 this year. So we are way over 100 if you look at the release list from 2020, which at the time included Zelina Vega, Akam and Razar, Rusev, Eric Rowan, Sarah Logan, Anderson, Gallows, Maria Kanellis, Cain Velasquez, Zack Ryder, Primo Epico, Mike Bennett, EC3, Leo Rush, Deanna Purrazzo, Cassius Ohno, Kurt Hawkins, Eric Young, Curtis Axel, No Way Jose, MJ Jenkins, Dash Wilder, Kurt Angle, Aiden English, Briscoe, Rotunda, Mike Chioda, Travis Banks, Tino Sabatelli, Heath Slater, Sean Devari, Serena Deeb, FTR, Luke Harper, Kairi Sane, Jazzy Gabbert. My God, so many great names there. And then this year, we've had Bobby Fish, Mercedes Martinez, Leon Ruff, Tyler Rust, Bronson Reed, Jake Atlas, Kona Reeves. I'm just going to go through some of the names we know. Bray Wyatt, Chase Parker, Matt Martell. Yeah, Everrise, Killian Dane, Arturo Ruas, Andrade, Billy Kay, Peyton Royce, Samoa Joe, Kalisto, Chelsea Green, Mickey James, Bo Dallas, Tucker, Mojo, Wesley Blake, Jessamine Duke, Vanessa Bourne, Alexander Wolf, Velveteen, Strowman, Lana, Buddy Murphy, Aleister Black, Ruby Riott, August Gray, Tony Nese, Tyler Breeze, Fandango, Santana Garrett. My God. And then yesterday, here are the names we had released yesterday by WWE. 18 total names. It looks like that will end for right now, although we will discuss as we go through here maybe a couple other names that we were maybe expecting to be on a release list that wasn't, which makes me wonder if there is going to be another batch maybe early, mid next week. Don't know. Hope not. But here's the names we got yesterday. Let's start at the top. Probably the biggest name, the biggest disappointment of everybody was Keith Lee. I've never seen a ball dropped worse on Keith Lee in my life. We'll talk about him in a minute. Karrion Kross and Scarlett, both gone. Nia Jax, she might be the most surprising one. Ember Moon. Eva Marie, Gran Metalik, Lindsay Dorado, Oni Lorcan, Mia Yim, Frankie Monet, who just fucking came in, B-Fab, who just got fucking called up to the main roster days ago and signed a new deal last week, Harry Smith, who hasn't even been back on TV yet since coming back into the company. Good to see the WWE treats the Hart family so well. Trey Baxter, Jesse Camilla, Zeta Ramier, Jeet Rama, and Katrina Cortez, excuse me. Only 4 of those last 5 names I'm actually familiar with. So those are the names that got released. When it comes to like the last few names on there, they haven't been very highly featured that much, more like a trim in the fat type of thing. Fine, I understand it sucks, but it's business. Some of these other names are just flat out head scratching. Let's start with Karrion Kross and Scarlett. Now, what a disaster from the very beginning with them, or with him, I should say, on the main roster. Killer Kross got signed. I remember he was desperate to get out of his Impact deal. There was a lot of talk about him coming into the company. He had that look to him. He had that look, and I said this at the time when they were kind of talking about bringing him in, and if he got there, I'm like, look, I'm not saying this guy is Brock Lesnar or anything like that, but I think WWE really needs to try to find that next Brock Lesnar type guy, that guy that just attracts an audience, that has like a legitimacy to him, and Brock just has a whole different feel. And I find it ridiculous that people feel like you can't have that again. I believe that you can if you just know what the fuck you're doing. Now, Brock, he's very polarizing because he's been in the NFL, and then he was very successful in UFC, so he's got that going for him. But I still think if you find a guy and you push him correctly, and you really make him somebody who is feared and people are scared shitless to get in the ring with, and you smash him over, you can make a big money match somewhere. And then if you decide to have him lose, go ahead. But at least build him up to the point where you got a lot of people, eyeballing a SummerSlam or a WrestleMania or something like that for some big time matchup. Yesterday's badass versus the future. Holy shit. They didn't do that. They brought him into NXT, changed his name from Killer to Karrion. We can understand that. And when they put together his gimmick, his persona, his presentation, and the pairing with Scarlett and that debut that he had with that music, everybody was losing their minds on social media. Holy shit, that's money. Holy shit, that is a top-level star act in the company. Everything about that was badass. The music, the red, the badassness, the sexy chicken leather. It had everything that a wrestling fan would want. And plus, you know, the guy, Karrion Kross, has got a great look. He's got those intense eyes. You know, I was critical of his in-ring work once he got going. He wasn't as good as I was expecting him to be, but that's okay. You don't have to be Eddie Guerrero. You know, so I was like, you know, that shit can be worked with. You know, any limitations that he does have, he can hide with his ground and pound and his kind of MMA-ish style, I'll fuck you up type of no-nonsense attitude. I just thought there was no way that you can fail with this. And then you've got Keith Lee, who's in NXT as a double champion. You know, the most dominant guy they've really had come through there, ended Adam Cole's long run. He's a double champ. He's never been beat. What better way to not only move him to the main roster, since we've already gotten a tease of what Keith Lee can do at SummerSlam and the Royal Rumble against Roman and Brock. The fans are ready to see this guy in the main roster. How do you get him to the main roster, though? He's a double champion. He's undefeated. There's nobody on the roster, on the NXT roster, more badass than him, except for this new guy, Karrion Kross. You put him in the ring with Keith Lee. Karrion beats him. First guy to beat Keith Lee, wins the title. Holy shit. Now Kross got injured and, you know, he had a little hiccup there, but he was able to come back, win the belt again, and pick up right where he left off. So that whole situation, his matches were good with Balor. He was having decent pay-per-view matches, even though, like I said, he's probably, I think, the weakest in-ring NXT champion that they've had, but probably one of the strongest in terms of just look, presentation, size, and presence, that sort of thing. So he's now the champion with Scarlett at his side. You know, he's defeated a dominant champion. Who the hell is going to be able to defeat this guy? You know, so then they bring back Samoa Joe and they decide they want to move Karrion back to the main roster. And Samoa Joe comes in a very, very, very predictable match. As soon as Samoa Joe got brought back as the GM or the co-GM or whatever, you knew it was going to be Kross and Joe for the title, and Joe was winning, period. Because Kross had been on main event. He had worked a dark match, and it looked like they were ready to move him up. So once they do, we hear the rumblings, oh shit, he worked main event, but no Scarlett, just came out by himself. Okay, they're probably just getting a look at him in the ring. They're not ready to put all that together yet, but when he gets brought up to Raw or SmackDown or whatever, it'll be like what we saw in NXT. We should have known, because everybody else that they have brought up from NXT, they've completely destroyed what made them special. So why was Karrion Kross going to be any different? He wasn't. He finally debuts on Raw wearing a fucking LOD 2000 mask, gimp helmet combination thing, fucking suspenders, looks like a ridiculous idiot, and he gets beat by Jeff Hardy in less than a minute. You can't even make this shit up. Like, it amazes me that a company like WWE, who once used to take wrestlers that other companies like WCW didn't know what the fuck to do with, and make them stars, find out what makes them special, accentuate that, and push that out to the audience, and really make these guys characters and connect with the audience, that sort of thing. And they were just good at picking that stuff out, finding out what guys were good at. You know, they were good at that at a time. Sometimes they sucked too, even in the Attitude Era. Not everything was a home run, but they were much better in terms of developing characters and gimmicks. Now they don't put any thought, effort, work into it at all. There's no creative integrity to anything they do. And what in the world made them look at what Karrion Kross and Scarlett were doing in NXT and made them say, let's just change all of that? That is insane. They bring him out to zero response from the audience, not a peep. You think if he would have been out there with that badass music and Scarlett with him, the fans would have been that silent? Hell no. They were like, oh shit, they're here. You know, they were a great duo. Maybe WWE was worried about the Sable effect. I don't think that would have happened. I don't think Scarlett would have taken the spotlight away from Karrion Kross the way Sable did from Mark Marrow. I think they are a duo. They fit together on TV. They look great together. You should never mess that up. And all WWE had to do was bring them up to the main roster, not fuck with them at all, and boom, top-level act, no questions asked. And they did the exact opposite. Let's put him in NXT, let him work there for a few months, let's find out everything that he's doing right. And then, like I said yesterday, we're going to make him change all of it. And then after he does things our way for a few months, we fire him. And that's the way it's been with a lot of guys, like the next guy we're going to talk about, Keith Lee. And poor Scarlett never even got out of the blocks. She was with him in NXT, but when they were split off, you thought, okay, maybe they're going to put her in the women's division or something. I don't know why. To me, she'd just be much better served as a valet for Kross, maybe even a valet to other people. Who knows? There's use for her. She has value. And they never even gave her a chance at all. And now they just decide to cut their losses and let them both go. When, much like Keith Lee, it's a layup. Any idiot can make this, It's just, and WWE bricked it. They airballed a layup. Only WWE can do this. Only they are capable of this level of ignorance. Unreal. So the next big name, oh, by the way, I should talk about as we go through here, a lot of the talent, basically everybody did release some sort of a statement, did talk about it, oh crap. We got another, troll. Oh, yep, Trump, the hero of the inbred. Let me just delay this a little more. I'm sorry, guys, if you're a kind of a new subscriber, you won't be able to comment. I'm just going to move that to 20 days, and that should eliminate that. Anyway, we got to hold on that. Good to see you, Catherine. How you doing, girl? WWE has been driven by a mad genius who won't admit that he does not understand today's audience. We know that. I don't think Vince understands anything, much less his audience. I'm not sure if this guy's capable of dressing himself, speaking English, tying his shoes, and wiping his ass, the way it's sounding like here. So anyway, Kross did tweet a couple of things in response. He tweeted one thing in response to somebody asking him if they could have his helmet. And he says, no one wants that piece of shit. So it's good to know that Karrion Kross found that as ridiculous as I did. I saw a lot of people who are, just fiercely loyal to him, defending WWE's ridiculous use of him. And I'm like, man, you got to stop fangirling here. There is a difference between criticizing the person and criticizing WWE. Any criticisms being leveled on Kross and Scarlett right now are purely WWE's fault. It has nothing to do with them. All WWE had to do is leave them alone. They would have been fine. So I was worried. I'm like, shit, maybe Kross wants that. I was never a fan of his ring gear. I thought the gladiator shit looked stupid even before the suspenders, but I was still willing to let that go because the look and the presentation was so good. And then they made it even worse on Raw to where it just made the fans fucking laugh. And they just ruined him, Luckily, he's going to be fine. He's going to go get a job elsewhere. It's going to be all right. But, man, he could have been huge in WWE when you think of what might have been with him and with Keith Lee or whatever. It's sad to know, how big they could be on the roster right this very moment. And it's the opposite of that. They're not even in the company. He also posted a video. A lot of guys, after they get released from WWE, they post a video of their future. Many times it's this depiction of being in a prison where they have to, break out and get back out into the world. We've seen that a lot. But all this one said was, I've heard you the whole time. His Twitter handle has changed just to Kross with a little gravestone or headstone in front of it. And I guess he's going to probably go back to being Killer Kross. And the video was just, some effects in a graveyard or some shit like that. So anyway, he's going to hit the ground running once his, what I'm guessing is a 90 day is up. Scarlett apparently only has a 30-day because I guess technically she didn't make it to the main roster. So that's good news for her. And I'm sure we'll see Kross, beginning 2022. Best of luck to him. Really a sad whole situation there. We'll talk later on. There are going to be some internet reports coming out as to the reasons to some of these releases. And, COVID did play a role in some of these. We'll get into all that later. I just wanted to talk about, kind of the individual stars here that were released. The next one is obviously Keith Lee. We really should have started with him because as much of a disappointment as Kross and Scarlett was, I think the biggest missed opportunity of all of them is Keith Lee. Because I did like Kross a lot, but I liked Keith Lee more. Thought he was a better wrestler and thought, he would make he could give Brock a better match, I always thought. Maybe even Roman. And we saw signs of that back at the end of 2019 in the Survivor Series and in the Royal Rumble, where WWE gave you a little sampling of what is to come of Keith Lee on the main roster. And remember how we talked about it? Everybody was super excited. We were all like, oh shit, this is going to be fucking badass. Wait till he gets to Raw. Finally we've got a guy that can maybe challenge, some of these bigger names for the title. And again, just like Karrion Kross, the exact opposite of that. Now he was out for a while, but due to the health stuff. I mean, he had a really bad health scare there. He had Mia Yim by his side the whole time. A lot of fans were showing their support. He was off TV forever. For a large portion of that time, we didn't know what was going on until he finally revealed all of his health problems and things like that. But prior to that happening, he was on TV wrestling, but immediately they change his music and they change his gear. What is it about them that they have to continuously and constantly fuck with Triple H and Shawn Michaels' work down there in NXT? They groom and work so hard to make these stars, these gimmicks, these wrestlers, and train them and get them ready for the big time. And then we move them up there. Vince and Bruce and everybody else just can't help but just smack their own fucking shit on it. Like they got to put their own twist on everything. Neither of these guys, Keith Lee or Karrion Kross, needed anything done to their gimmicks at all. That's what NXT is there for, to get them ready for the big time. It's under the WWE umbrella with the same type of production and wardrobe and all that stuff. So if they're ready in NXT, they should be ready for big time. There shouldn't be much you need to do to their gimmick. It's not like they're working for a bingo hall indie fed and they've got low rent, low budget gear on and shitty face paint and WWE's just going to polish them up a little bit. No, they're already polished. That's what NXT's for, to polish them, to get them ready to be on camera because they're going to be stars. And I think NXT has done an excellent job of accomplishing that. Think about where NXT was 5 years ago compared to where it is today, November 5th, 2021. Tell me that ain't some depressing shit right there, And so I think it's like, I don't know if it's some sort of internal issue, power play, or whatever. If there is some animosity between Triple H and Vince just constantly wants to fuck with them, that's so messed up to do that at the expense of your company and wrestlers. We don't know if that's the case, but come on. I mean, it's ridiculous. This guy was a double champ in NXT. He was super over, and he was a very credible challenger. When he came to the main roster, people were looking forward to it. We all thought that he was going to offer some, basically a change at the top of the card, a change in terms of who is pushed, who we see, and we finally now have a bigger guy because Vince likes big, where before in NXT, the Finn Balor's and whatnot, we weren't sure if they were going to be able to truly compete on that level. But they, and they kind of did, but when a big guy comes up, you just think that he's going to have even bigger opportunity to do that. So unfortunately, it's just a huge disappointment for Keith Lee and Kross and Scarlett and everybody that we're going to talk about here. But the good news too, with a guy like Lee and Kross, these guys are not going to, they're not going to sit there at home and not find work. Maybe some of this talent, near the bottom might a little bit. I find it also kind of really bad timing that WWE did this around the same time that ROH, is taking that hiatus, and a lot of talent is now looking for work. And now WWE, releases a lot of talent with TV time out into the free agent pool there, diluting it up a little bit and could potentially harm people getting jobs and getting paid down the road. So just everything here was just horrible timing and just really, really messed up. So anyway, the other name we got to talk about is probably the biggest surprise of all and probably the third biggest name on this list. But in terms of who it was, it did shock the fans a lot. And that was Nia Jax. Nia Jax let go. She has not been on TV in a while. She did release an Instagram post today that I'll read here in a minute, detailing her request for time off to deal with her mental health issues. She wanted to take some time and whatnot. She's been released in the middle of this. So we'll read her statement here in a minute. But in terms of her just being released in general, I think this one's pretty shocking. I guess Nia Jax isn't The Rock's cousin anymore. Because remember, that's the only reason she had a job. Remember when you guys said it incessantly over and over and over and over and over and over and over that she only has a job because she's The Rock's cousin? What's the excuse now? She doesn't have a job now. She is out of WWE. We have not hid our, I don't want to say dislike, but basically just Nia Jax has never been my biggest fan. Never really been a fan of her work at all in the ring. She's never done anything that I've really enjoyed. I think some of it is WWE's fault. Some of it is just the limitations of Nia Jax. I do think Nia Jax had potential, but a lot of times, WWE fucked it up. I hated her theme music, and I hated it even worse when she was a heel. It made no sense. It's way too poppy and happy and all that shit. I'm like, give this woman like, I don't know, Braun Strowman music or something. Fucking rip your head off or whatever. But she was kind of, when she was a babyface, that was fine because it was going for like the voluptuous, larger, beautiful girl, kind of thing. She still was a woman and the pretty eyes and all that stuff, but she's also big and fucking strong. And I think they should have accentuated that a little bit more, at least when she's a heel. Maybe keep her a little more bubblegum and poppy music when she's a babyface. When she's a heel, she needs to be like Umaga or something. But on top of that, she's been very unsafe in the ring. She's had issues where she's hurt people. She blasted Becky's nose into oblivion a few years back that got her all kinds of heat, and everybody wanted her to go back to NXT and shit like that. A lot of people were calling for her to be fired, but of course she's not going to get fired because she's The Rock's cousin. It's all they've got. She, for the most part she was there, I guess, 7 years. I remember when she was brought up from the main roster, I wasn't ready for her to come up. I thought it was too early. And there was a lot of NXT talent that was like that. And for her, I remember she had the match with Asuka at one of the takeovers, and Asuka beat her. And shortly after that, she was on the main roster. And I can understand that because she is marketable. She is different. She's a very different looking WWE women's wrestler or diva that they've had in the past. Having her on there, I could understand that WWE want to bring her up, especially with her family ties and things like that. But I just thought she wasn't ready. And then as the years went by, she was never getting better in the ring. If anything, she was getting worse. And none of her storylines were even that great. Even the biggest one she had, where she won the title at WrestleMania as a babyface in the bullying storyline with Alexa Bliss. I think fans were happy for Nia that she got that moment. It maybe is for inspiration for other women like her. That was all great. I think everybody appreciated the message behind it. But the story you couldn't really sink your teeth into it. It wasn't one that I was like, oh man, I can't wait to tune into Raw tonight to see what happens between Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss. Never once did that shit ever cross my mind. But Nia, I think she, in a lot of ways, I'd say she overachieved in WWE. So the whole situation with her is extremely sad, and we wish her the best. But at the same time, she probably had a job a few more years than she should have. Now, there is some developing news with the Nia Jax stuff. Let me see if I can pull this up. I had it saved and I've lost it. I guess if I just search it. So Nia Jax released a Instagram post today talking about her situation. She's apparently pretty upset. Let me just pull it up here and I'll read it to you in a second. And she was kind of detailing how she asked for time off for mental health and things like that. Now, here's what she had to say on Instagram. Shit, it's too far away. It's going to be hard for me to read this. I quote, "I usually keep my personal life private, but yesterday's reports leave me with no option but to clarify matters. I recently took a short leave of absence from WWE for a mental health break. I've been working through so much, more than I can share, and so I took some time with the full support of the company to take care of myself. Earlier this week, after WWE sent me my schedule to return to the ring for the November 15th show, I asked for an extension to my mental health break, feeling that I needed more time and hoping I would have the ongoing support of the company I have given my all to for the past 7 years. I did not receive a response. The next I heard, I was being released. My vaccination status was never mentioned. I wasn't given any choices or options. It breaks my heart to be so abruptly let go without consultation when dealing with so much privately. I loved my career at WWE. I love the men and women I worked with, and I'm going to need some time to process this huge loss. I appreciate those people who have shown understanding and compassion during an incredible, difficult time." So, that breaks your heart a little bit in terms of like the mental health stuff. But, I wonder from WWE's perspective, it's so funny, the tale of two companies here. If Nia Jax, I almost shut off my mic. If Nia Jax was in AEW, they would be sprinkling tributes to her throughout the show, the way they did to Jon Moxley. As a matter of fact, after Dynamite went off the air, I think they did another tribute to Jon Moxley. That was almost overkill love for Moxley. I can't believe I was even saying that. I'm like, oh my God, can we tone down the love? But that's awesome. Like, that's a lot of support. I mean, if Nia Jax was going through this stuff in AEW, it seems like she would be, very well taken care of. Where in WWE, she's released. Now, maybe WWE feels, I know how WWE management, we've heard stories about them before, about people maybe being difficult or whatever, and they get frustrated or fed up with them. Maybe Nia Jax, It's amazing to me that somebody feels like they need to take a break for their mental health. and WWE would say, okay, but then privately they resent you. And then they wind up releasing you because they just don't want to deal with, your drama or whatever. It sounds like that's what this is, which is incredibly insensitive, in a lot of ways. And, I'm no expert, not one to speak about mental health at all. But one thing that we've talked about here on the channel that I've noticed so much is just how many people, the percentage of the population that deals with some form of anxiety, depression, or mental health issues, how large that number is, how truly large that number is, and how many people, how common it is. And you notice it even a lot in kids. You got fucking 14-year-olds on antidepressant medicine. I don't even think anxiety existed when I was a kid. I mean, it did, but it was never dealt with, or anything, or or confronted in any way. And to see now so many people, struggle with this. And a lot of people might say, what's Nia Jax got to complain about? She's got a good job. She's a millionaire. That's not everything. You're also in a very stressful work environment. I would imagine for a woman in WWE, it's very stressful in that backstage environment. Women will admit to this. Women in the chat right now, I'm sure you will. I work with a ton of them. They're all catty. It amazes me how friendly they can be to each other's faces and how they can just stab each other in the back right after that. It's very, it's probably very competitive, and, it's filled with frenemies and cattiness and all that stuff. And that can be very stressful, I would imagine, especially if you're in a competitive situation or a competitive environment where you're jockeying for positions on the card. So all of that stuff with Nia Jax and her career and whatever else is going on, a lot of it private, like she said, it's none of our business. But she took time off to deal with these things, and WWE really didn't support her the way she felt they should. And many fans probably feel the same way. Based on the reaction that I've seen from Nia Jax's post, most people, even though they would admit, I've never been a fan of Nia Jax. I might have been, they, not me. I never said this. I never once called for Nia Jax firing at all. I never once let my emotions take over where I'd get so fucking cross-eyed crazy, that she's unsafe in the ring, that I'm calling for her to be like released and fired because I'm not a heartless piece of shit. So even though, I feel very, even though I was never a fan of her, never once would I've ever wanted her to lose her job or anything like that. And not a lot of fans can say that. I've saw a lot of hateful, horrible things hurled Nia Jax's way. Fans don't understand how to deliver criticism, instead of, maybe criticizing she's a little unsafe in the ring. She's got to be fired. Vince got to fire her. She's only The Rock's cousin, just chill. I don't know what the hell wrong with fucking half the fans out there. So even though she wasn't our biggest fan at all, you certainly don't like to hear stories like this. Now, in terms of her vaccination status, she claims that her vaccination status was never mentioned. Now, Sean Ross Sapp and Andrew Zarian yesterday both posted reports saying that about 4 to 6 releases were related to vaccination status. Not because of, but vaccination status played a role in the release. And that I can understand, because when you got people that are refusing to get vaccinated, that's going to affect a lot of stuff. When you're traveling and you're going to venues that require vaccinations, it's just going to cause a headache because you're being stubborn. Go talk to your doctor. If they say, based on your health and everything we know about you and what you're allergic to, I would recommend you don't take this vaccine. Take that note to WWE. I'm sure they'll give you a break. I don't even know if legally doctors can talk about that shit. I don't know. But I just always tell people, talk to your fucking doctor. Don't do your Facebook research. Talk to your doctor. Get fucking vaccinated. But apparently WWE, they had to at least consider that. Now, nobody's making anybody get vaccinated. That's the thing that people have to understand. WWE's making their employees get vaccinated. No, they're not. They're not. You do not have to get vaccinated. You might get released, but you don't have to get vaccinated. Nobody's going to force you to get vaccinated. But if you want to go to a concert or something and you click the I agree when it says you must be vaccinated or have a negative test within 72 hours of the event, and you click agree and you buy your ticket and then you get there and you can't get in, you can't be screaming about America and your freedom. You agreed. This is America. Private companies have the right to require certain things of their patrons and employees. You can either follow those things or don't. That's it. So the vaccination status really shouldn't be a big topic of debate. Yeah, it's something that WWE's probably going to have to look at, because if you're not vaccinated, you're going to be a pain in the ass. And, it might just be best to not have them around for this, So I'm not sure who the stars were that weren't vaccinated. I would probably guess Kross and Scarlett. They seem like that. Nia Jax has outwardly said that she believes in natural immunization and all that stuff. So WWE probably had to take that into consideration. So I don't know if she was one of them or not. She claims it was not due to the vaccination status. And, I don't even know what I'd prefer there. I think either way, it's shitty. If they're firing her in the middle of a mental health break, boy, that makes them come off really bad, or if they're using, and plus that, the vaccination thing on top of the mental health stuff, it's WWE has just fucking bad timing. She says she wasn't given any choices or options. I think WWE should have. I think they should have. They said they should have been like, look, we'll give you some more time off. We would really like to get vaccinated. You kind of got an ultimatum. We need you back by the end of the year. We'd like you to get vaccinated. If you do these things, you are more than welcome to remain in the WWE family. If not, we're probably going to have to let you go. You got a week to decide. I mean, at least give her that, So, yeah, the Nia Jax situation was odd, very strange, and feel bad for her and wish her the best wherever she lands. Wherever she lands. Crazy. Another kind of a shocking name, but although not really, is Ember Moon. Ember Moon tweeted out after this happened, all I can do is laugh. You got to feel for her too. She's another one that WWE just horribly dropped the ball on. She was a pretty big star and had a good run in NXT, although she was there with Asuka and was never able to topple Asuka. I think Ember became champ after Asuka moved to the main roster, correct? She was hurt, at least I think. And she was impressive. She did a good job picking up and carrying the torch from Asuka. And again, she was somebody with a unique look, kind of had a cool persona. She looked like a wrestler. She's got the fucking hair and she's strong and, she's got all of that. It just seems like she's a typical epitome of what a female professional wrestler should be. She just looks the part. She's great. She looks like an athlete and she's good and she did great moves. She was impressive. Everybody, for the most part, liked her. Who the hell was going online and saying, man, this Ember Moon just ain't doing it for me? Most people liked Ember Moon and everything she brought to the table. However, you can't really be that surprised by this release because WWE has done dick with her. She's been injured a little bit, but during the times that she hasn't been injured, she's been in the back, eating a salad, in catering, doing a big bag of dicks. She could be so useful, valuable to your women's roster that lacks depth as it is. And she could be a contender. She can be a challenger for Becky, a challenger for Charlotte. None of this stuff should be hard. But for WWE, it's fucking calculus. And they just cannot figure out how to take a perfectly good wrestler with a good look. And everything about her is pretty solid. And no matter what they try, that's the thing. They try stuff. Didn't they stick her with Shotzi for a while? Like they do stuff, forget about it, and then stick you in the back. Oh, we just don't have anything for you. Why don't you have anything for you? Or why don't you have anything for her? Don't you have 56 fucking writers back there? How can you not have anything for them? I don't get it. It just drives me crazy. So poor Ember Moon is out. Her tweet sums it up. All she can do is laugh because it's comical. I mean, it's ridiculous. This company who needs talent, who could use, especially on the women's roster, when you've got 2 title belts in a roster that can't really sustain that. All you had to do is put Ember Moon on the main roster and give her some wins. Fans would have gotten behind her. But no, can't do that. That's too easy. That's too easy. What's up, Sean's View? Oh my God, good to see you, man. You've been around for many years just like myself, huh? Pretty cool. Jimmy Anderson, what's up, dude? Thanks for that super chat from earlier and greetings from way over in Sweden. If it's true that Nia got released because of denying the vaccine, it's unfair. I don't believe it's unfair. Not for a company. I don't think nobody's forcing her. You don't have to get it. But if you want to work here, travel, and enter venues that require vaccines, we got to have you vaccinated. It's just the way it is. I know a lot of people kind of confuse freedom and liberty with, terms of agreement and shit like that. They don't, they conflate the two. You don't have to get it. If you don't want to get it, don't get it. But you're going to have some limitations if you don't. Simple as that. It's not fucking science, rocket science. Well, actually, it is science. Yeah, I was about to talk about the Will Rally Sport Rally. We'll be talking about poor BFAB in a minute, but not before we talk about Eva Marie. Eva Marie, why even bring her back? The minute they were running vignettes of her on Raw, we were in unison puking our guts out. The last thing in the world any of us want to see is Eva fucking Marie. She's terrible in every sense of the word, brings nothing, offers nothing. Can't wrestle, can't talk, can't do shit. So they bring her back in after releasing a lot of really talented women. Women far more talented than Eva Marie. I don't know what the attraction to Eva Marie is. It's not even like she's a big social media star or anything. Like back in 1995, like I've talked about before, in 1996, when WWE were thirsty, desperate little girls for mainstream media attention and would smear any opportunity they had to be anywhere. Regis and Kathy Lee or some rinky-dink talk show, they would put that shit in your face on Raw, make such a big deal about it. Now, stars come to them. Shaquille O'Neal and LeBron James, they want to come to WWE. They want to work there. It's not the other way around anymore. So why in the world is Eva Marie, who I've never seen on anything, no reality shows or nothing like that? She's a model. Okay, fine. There's lots of models. There's plenty of women just as hot as her. I just don't get it, what she brings. And she's been there for a long time. And then when they brought her back in, you know, as this gimmick again, kind of picking up where they left off with her last time, the way she was going to get in the ring and kept having wardrobe malfunctions and shit like that. I actually liked that. I'm like, look, if you're going to take this useless person and actually, you know, put them in an angle that the fans can kind of get behind, this could actually work because fans will get pissed. You'll get a ton of heat. It'll be good. Maybe I'll change my tune on Eva Marie because WWE is going to use her in the proper way. And then she left or got released or something. She was gone for a couple of years. She's back now, kind of the same way. Then they pair her with Piper Niven, who they change her name to Dewdrop, and the whole thing is ridiculous. That little tiny, ridiculous pairing ends. They split, brief feud, Dewdrop beats her, and now they release her. Like, I don't understand. What did they think was going to happen? Did they think they were going to bring Eva Marie in and she was going to be the next Trish Stratus? The next Charlotte, that she was going to be completely different in the ring than she was before, that she's somehow going to be able to get over and connect with the audience and the fans are going to give two fucks at all about her? You brought her in, paid her all that money just to release her. You could have saved the money by not bringing her back at all. You know, and for a company that's doing an excellent job of micromanaging their bottom lines and their profits, you know, stockholders must be very happy with, you know, the way they are managing their numbers and their money. But I think they could save even more if they would stop making stupid creative decisions like this. Maybe the business management needs to be in a little bit more communication with the creative team. Hey, we're going to bring Eva Marie back in. We're going to pay her $700,000 a year for the fans to not want her and change the channel. Think that's a good idea? You know, they're going to say no. So Eva Marie's gone. Not shedding any tears over that one. Eva Marie, personally, nothing against her. Wish her the best. I'm sure she's going to be fine. She's going to be fine. She's going to make plenty of money and have a long, happy life and career. She'll be fine. But in terms of being in the ring as a professional wrestler, she was never going to make it. B-Fab. Another head-scratching one here. I mean, I know I just kind of raked poor Eva Marie over the coals, but it still doesn't make sense why she was released because they just brought her back. B-Fab doesn't make any sense either. Now, she was probably the least experienced of Hit Row, but Hit Row was really one of the only things in the new NXT that was considered very over. You know, the fans, when they debuted, they're like, ooh, that's good. Like, I like that a lot. They found a faction here that kind of can connect. It's cool and hip and all that stuff. It has potential. They didn't even let it get going on NXT before they called them up. I was actually disappointed in them being drafted. I said, it's too early. They do this shit all the time. We've had ample amounts of examples here of times that they've brought up talent too early. They weren't ready. You know, they flounder, they dismantle them, split them up. They go their separate ways. A couple months later, they're released. Happens to so many people. Tucker and, you know, God knows who else. So they just bring Hit Row to SmackDown. They debut once. I think they've had one or two TV outings. B-Fab, according to Brian Alvarez, signed a new deal a week ago. Brand new deal. And then they just decide to release her. You're already releasing Hit Row, people, a faction that many fans think has potential. We're terrified, though, of them being on the main roster. We know WWE's going to fuck it up. But at least when it was NXT, a lot of fans are like, not bad. That's cool. I think there's potential there for some of these guys to become stars. You know, Francis or Top Dollar is, you know, he's very good. He's very big. He can talk. So can Swerve. Swerve's a good wrestler. The whole presentation had potential, and already you've taken a piece away from it. You know, can they continue to survive? Probably. Are they going to thrive? Probably not. Poor B-Fab, gone. Wish her the best. My God. Here's two names that I think wanted out. Graham Metalik and Lindsay Dorado. Apparently at least Metalik is asked for his release, I know, at least once and never got it, but now they're both gone. I'm so happy for them. I was never a fan of the Lucha House Party or anything like that. Before we finish up the podcast here today, though, remind me to talk about the Kalisto Jericho shit. We'll get into it at the end here. But to see these guys gone, great. I'm glad they're gone. They're probably thrilled after what happened with Kalisto on Dynamite. I don't know if those two guys are going to be jumping over to AEW or anything, but hell, who knows? They might be. Best of luck to both of them. Love them both, and glad they're the hell out of there. Another name that was kind of disappointing, Harry Smith, son of the British Bulldog. He was in the company, years ago as part of that reformed Heart Foundation with Natalia and what's his name and shit. And he's been gone all that time. He's been in Japan. He's honed his craft. He's gotten better, between Japan and MLW and wherever else he was. He has really grown, matured, and holy shit, does he look like his dad. And when Bulldog got inducted into the Hall of Fame last year, seeing him there was kind of cool. And he worked a couple of dark matches, that got leaked out. And I was like, oh man, they should definitely bring him back. And again, they've just decided to abort the mission and not even try to give Harry Smith any sort of a run in the company that would be any sort of a tribute to his dad. Now, one good thing about this with Harry Smith is I really hope he talks to AEW. I think it would be cool to have Harry Smith there wrestling in the Owen Hart tournament. That would be nice, Another name that's quite shocking, Frankie Monet. Taya Valkyrie, who they just brought in, who's got a long history and a lot of championships on her resume. She's the wife of John Morrison. I was never a huge fan of hers, but realized who she was, though. Realized the star power she had, and the runs that she's already had. And when she was signed by NXT, everybody said that's a great pickup. She's going to bring that division up. And then she debuted. Of course, they got to change her name because, of course, they do. Now she's Frankie Monet. She's got the dog. The whole presentation really, honestly, wasn't for me. But I thought just based on who she was and her experience, she's somebody who at age 38 is going to be, an excellent person to have in a locker room like that, especially with a lot of young women there who might be looking, for some, for some female advice, aside from just advice from Triple H and Shawn Michaels, So I thought she was somebody that was going to be a big asset in terms of behind the scenes. Now, she sent out multiple social media posts discussing this yesterday and today. She made a long statement. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but she thanked Triple H and Shawn Michaels. It seems like everybody that got released has nothing but good things to say about Triple H and Shawn Michaels. And you got to wonder about how they feel, especially Triple H. Shawn, too, who's, relocated and moved his entire livelihood into Florida to be a coach and trainer for the future. And I would just hate to see all this time, energy, and hard work I put into someone to get ready for the main roster, then they're there 3 months and get released. At least Shawn can sleep at night and know he gave these guys a lot of great training and tutelage for them to go and do their craft elsewhere outside of WWE. But for those who might not be able to get jobs or something or whatever, it's just got to be disheartening to know that you're putting in all that work and effort for nothing. For nothing. And Triple H is in an even worse position. A lot of these people that have been released, he personally groomed and shaped and molded only for Vince and company on the main roster to completely destroy and strip everything about them that made them special. And here Frankie is, she just hasn't really gotten rolling yet on the NXT roster, but with Raquel Gonzalez dropping the title, I feel like she could probably be heading to the main roster soon. You got a new champion in Mandy Rose. Monet should be a part of all of this. She should be right in the thick of things in the women's division, but instead they release her. Now, she did release, like I said, multiple different statements on social media across the board, and one of them did talk a little bit about her age. Now, she is 38. She said that she's never really revealed her age until now, and brings up a really interesting and good point about the differences in the ages of wrestlers between men and women. Now, you don't really have a whole lot of old women on the roster. I think Tamina is sitting at about my age, at about 44 years old, I think, which is quite old. You might have some mid to late 30s, but they even consider Mickie James old. Who at 38 or whatever is one of those gorgeous women I'd ever seen, and so WWE and maybe even wrestling in general has a different, they basically have a different philosophy when it comes to women. Women can't wrestle into old age the way men can. And that is an interesting point. You really don't see that. You see Goldberg and Shawn and Triple H and Taker and so many guys working into their 50s. Ric Flair, who's working into his 150s, and yet women, by the time they're like 35, WWE's done with them. It is kind of fucked up. So help me out if there's any other women who are 40 plus in the company. There might be. But it is strange. I mean, unless you have a really good look or whatnot. Trish came in and worked a match, at a relatively ripe age back at SummerSlam a couple of years ago, but it is something that maybe should be talked about or thought about because it is a little bit messed up. I don't know what the situation with Frankie is, why they decided to release her. I don't think it's because of her age. It's just because maybe they brought her in, didn't like the way it was going, and got rid of her. Don't know. Either way, seems unfair, especially since you just brought her in. She's been working hard to develop this new persona, a different one from what she's had for years. Seems to be there, putting in the time, putting in the work, and you just let her go. Nobody is safe in this company. Nobody at all. Oney Lorcan also got released. He released a little video, seems to be very at peace with it, and he's going to be back now. He wrestled as, Biff Busick, I think, or something back in the day. He'll probably be returning to that name and hitting the indie scene, maybe even turning up on Dynamite somewhere or Rampage or Dark or Elevation or something. Wouldn't be surprised. Kid's good. He'll find work. Best of luck to him. And I think that was all of the names aside from the names I wanted to individually talk about besides the Trey Baxter, Jesse Camilla, and Katrina Cortez and all of them. Really not much to say about them. But all those other names individually, you have to wonder, what could have been done and how little could have been done to really keep these people's jobs. It would have taken minimal effort to do something meaningful with Karrion Kross and Scarlett and Keith Lee and Ember Moon. Some of these other ones, Eva Marie, I just don't know why they brought her back to begin with. Malik and Dorado and, some of those other names, Oney Lorcan, makes you wonder about other people. How the hell does Jackson Riker keep his job over Keith Lee? That is the ridiculously jaw-dropping nonsense that goes on in this company. That's insane. You have to wonder about some of these other names. Drake Maverick survived another batch of releases. We didn't see Asuka's name on that list, which was a relief. Drew Gulak, I'll tell you what, man, I'm really bummed out. Charlotte has a belt right now. Shit, if Charlotte wasn't champion, it's a whole lot of contract they could shed there, And they got rid of some other people that surprised the hell out of us. I mean, at this point, I don't think Charlotte would be that shocking. I think the only untouchable, bulletproof person in WWE is Roman Reigns. Maybe Brock Lesnar, although Brock Lesnar, if he just decides to quit, he just will. So, if there's ever a time, to maybe think about the money you'd save there. You save over $1 million a year getting rid of her contract. She could go be with her boyfriend and her dad or whatever in AEW, and they could be away, and that would take away that, toxic personality in the locker room. Could be a win-win on all accounts there, but they're not going to strip her and hold up the title and then send her to another company just for her to throw the title in the trash. So Charlotte, is still around, and throw out some other names there who you think maybe, could be, or you thought could have been on this list that weren't. I heard a couple of rumors about Johnny Gargano and Candice, which would have been really fucked up because Candice is pregnant. But at the same time, I would really like to see them go to AEW. I feel like there's not much there for them to do now that NXT is completely different, and the main roster just doesn't seem to be for him. However, Gargano and Kyle O'Reilly are both set to work dark matches tonight on SmackDown, correct? Which starts in about 2 hours, which they're probably doing it right this very minute. There was a report that came out yesterday prior to the releases that Kyle O'Reilly's contract is up in December. See ya. Please go to AEW. Please give me Cole, Fish, and O'Reilly versus Kenny and the Bucks. Just thinking about that one. Yeah, give me that. So I want Gargano and O'Reilly to leave. However, if Gargano was on the list of releases, that would have been fucked up, especially if Candice was with him. And they could release one and not the other, but why would you release Johnny Wrestling? He's just been a fucking wrestling machine since he's been there. Well, a few guys have really worked harder than him. I mean, people compare Gargano to Daniel Bryan. You're going to let him go? So they're thinking about him on the main roster now. Great. If they like what they see from him in his dark match, that means they're going to bring him to the main roster and he's going to do nothing. Johnny Gargano, if they can't make a star out of Keith Lee and Karrion Kross and a whole bunch of other guys that they've brought up to the roster that have not come anywhere close to reaching the success they had in NXT, why the fuck do they think anything's going to be different with Johnny Gargano, and why does he think that? So I hope he gets released just so he can go somewhere else where we can enjoy watching him work. I don't want to see him on SmackDown. I don't want to see him on Raw, not because he sucks, but because WWE's going to make him suck. And I don't trust them to do anything right at all. And in terms of O'Reilly, I hope that he's seeing all this. They've got him working a dark match here, which makes me wonder if he did sign an extension, and now they're going to put him on the main roster. Hey, sign this deal, extend your deal with us. We're going to put you on the main roster, and you start this Friday in a dark match or whatever. I hope he didn't sign that deal before all these releases came in, and he sees how truly valuable everybody is to the company. It doesn't matter what you sign, doesn't matter what kind of deal you have. WWE tomorrow could decide that you're gone. Nobody is safe in this company. There was also a bunch of front office releases as well. People have been in the company 15 years. Like I said earlier, if you're in college right now, you're thinking about a future career, stay the fuck out of corporate America. Sure, there's money to be made there, but man, it's going to be nothing but stress, and you can put in so much hard work and time and energy and dedicate your life to a company, brand, or business only for them just to cut you, release you, lay you off, whatever, like it's nothing. I've been in the restaurant business for 30 years. I've had job security. I've had 3 jobs I've been at 10 years each. I've been lucky, but a lot of people can put that time in and put in that hard work just for you to be tossed out like a piece of garbage. And in a lot of ways, you feel even worse for the office staff, because it's not like they're a talent with a name who's been on TV, who can send out resumes and 8x10s and shit and get picked up and get feelers out from other companies and, probably get a deal signed pretty quickly. They got a lot more competition. They're battling with resumes, with faceless pieces of paper in terms of your qualifications and where you're going to get hired. They have a much harder time probably of finding work at all than wrestlers do, since wrestlers can kind of work independent contract style. So it's sad that this happens. I mean, WWE feels like they've done a drastic downsizing here in a lot of ways. And in terms of the front office releases, this doesn't feel like they're trimming that down. It feels like they're getting rid of high-paying people and replacing them with lower-paid people. Which also sucks. So what's the point? What's the motivation to stay with a company for so long, knowing that you'll get annual raises or tenure or whatever, when none of that keeps you safe either? The front office staff, the people that actually have jobs there, aren't any safer than the talent. This bullshit lines that they feed us all the time about how WWE is just one big happy family. Go fuck yourself. You are anything but one big happy family. Stephanie McMahon, incidentally, this moron, yesterday in WWE's earnings call, she actually says, knowing that these releases are going to come just minutes after this call is over, she informs everybody on the call. I didn't listen to it. I was reading transcripts. And she says, I've got some bad news. I'm afraid I have to deliver some bad news. The Miz was eliminated from Dancing with the Stars. What a tone-deaf, heartless fucking thing to say. These people are so arrogant and so up their own asses and drinking the Kool-Aid, their own Kool-Aid, the Kool-Aid that they made, drinking it. This type of shit is just, how can you say that? How can you be such a horrific fucking bitch to say that just minutes after you're going to fire nearly 24 of your wrestlers, while at the same time reporting record profits, record revenue, boasting about how much money you're making? And then minutes later, you just let go, you shed a few more $1 million, in contracts. I just can't believe she said that. Just fucking asshole. If that woman was my boss, I wouldn't last 5 seconds. Just to hear how she talks to people, she's so condescending. She's got that tone, that nasally ass fucking annoying tone to her voice, where she just talks to you like you're a piece of shit. Like you don't know what you're doing. Like you're just some fucking minion moron. And I'm like, I don't know who you think you are, but the minute she talked down to me, it'd be the worst day of her life, I'll tell you that. I just don't know how anybody can stand her, just her voice and her demeanor. It's so off-putting, and she just comes off so terribly fucking phony. I do not like Stephanie, in case you didn't know. Joshua Carlos, Ocean Man, thank you very much for the $5. What's worse, is that they use TV time for these talents and they just get rid of them. Why get invested in these talents when they'll be gone? But that's pretty much the point of what we've been saying. That's what we talked about with Eva Marie. Why even bring her back in, put her on TV, knowing that nothing's really going to happen? And then with the other examples like Kross and Keith Lee, they bring them up, change everything about them, and then put them on the roster and think that they're going to get over. I'm like, all you had to do was leave them alone. Fans would have cheered them. But no, that's too hard. That's too hard. Quentin, before they started cutting people, you bought a ticket for Survivor Series. I had known that was going to happen. I would have not. Yeah, I mean, I attended SummerSlam this year in Vegas. I had a great time. Whoa. But I don't know, aside from a big pay-per-view, although WWE comes into San Diego quite often for Raws and shit. I mean, aside from a big 4 pay-per-view, I don't know if I'm really going to be rushing out to buy any more WWE tickets for a while. If I have a choice to go to an AEW show or a WWE show, I'm going to be choosing AEW 10 times out of 10. As a matter of fact, I'm picking Double or Nothing over WrestleMania this year. There was talk, me and Elizabeth were going to go to Dallas for WrestleMania, but since Double or Nothing will likely be in Vegas, fuck WrestleMania, we're going to Double or Nothing. Now, Mania in 39 will be here in LA or up the road in LA, so I'll go to that one. Probably be at WrestleMania 39 next year to hopefully see Rock against Roman. I mean, the year after next, I should say. And, if they get a big pay-per-view kind of close by, if a Rumble is in Phoenix or San Diego or Vegas or something, maybe we'll go. Otherwise, I don't expect to be spending any money on WWE tickets for the foreseeable future, that's for sure. But you know what? Survivor Series is still going to be fun. I mean, it's still a pay-per-view. You're still going to see some pretty cool things. So my advice is go. My advice is go and have a good time. And you're not doing anything wrong, so, but I can certainly understand your disappointment and how it's really hard to want to go out and support this company and give them money that you would like this money to go to some of these wrestlers that they released, but instead, it's just going right in their fucking pockets. Assholes. We got Joshua with another one. Thank you, dude, for the 2 more bucks. Like father, like daughter. That's what Steph is. Yeah, Stephanie's just extra annoying to me. I don't know why. I've always had something stuck in my craw about her. It just always bugged me. There's something about how she speaks and how she talks and how fucking oblivious she is to like reality. That shit, I know it's 20 years old. You can't hold her to, this isn't the cancel culture channel. We're not going to hold her, accountable for this for the rest of her life. But those comments that she made on that SmackDown after 9/11, I've never forgotten that, When the federal government came after my dad, that was my 9/11. I've already been through a tragedy like this. Oh my God. Now, granted, you're young. When I was her age, I was stupid too. But Jesus, man, come on, Steph. So yeah, I don't like her very much at all. Greg, you're a hater. I love Stephanie McMahon. Stephanie's at her moment. She was a great hair character on TV. I'm talking about her personally. I think her character on TV was fantastic. Her heel persona, her voice, the way she could scream and the way she could draw heat. She was one of the best in the business. I would never discredit Stephanie's ability to work an audience. She knows how. But, personally, she comes off fake. Faker. She comes off more real in the ring than she does outside of it, if you ask me. Marcus the Entertainer, thanks for the 5, man. Speaking on women not wrestling past 35, Sasha is 29 and feels like she'll be semi-retired by 35. Yeah, that's 6 more years away. So women just so far, it seems like, or at least right now, it seems like they have a shorter career span than men. I feel that's a little unfair. I think as long as you're athletic enough to go, male or female, it doesn't matter. Go until you can't go. If you're 60 and can wrestle like, and you can wrestle like Seth Rollins, then wrestle. But if you're 60 and, you're wrestling like Betty White, get the fuck out of the ring. So I just don't think there should be any age limit. I think it should be limited by what you can physically do, not how you physically look. Goldberg, because Goldberg looks like $1 million, wrestles like 10 cents. So if you can have somebody that wrestles well into old age, I think there is no limit on how long you can go. As long as you can work in the ring and not look like shit. Do it forever, as far as I'm concerned. Shouldn't matter what you look like. Shouldn't matter if you have some extra wrinkles, maybe an extra love handle that you didn't have when you're in your 20s. Who cares? Get out there and wrestle. That's what I say. So I think women, men, whoever you are, as long as you can go, you should go. And you should be allowed to go. Yeah, every time there's a batch of releases, the rumor of a sale come about. Now, I don't think this batch of releases is as big as the one they did before. It felt like they shedded a lot more money before with the Strowmans and the Wyatts and stuff. But whenever this happens, a lot of fans are like, "Oh, it seems like they're gearing up for a release." I saw somebody with this long, not a conspiracy theory, but basically their take of what they thought was going on, and they're like, I think WWE wanted to get this deal done, get all these guys released before the end of the year so they could sell to whoever. And I'm like, I don't think releasing these 18 talents would have anything to do with the sale of the company at all. It's not like, okay, we'll buy the company, but we're going to need you to release 18 more stars. No, it has nothing to do with that. A is not connected to B at all. But I think that whenever you start shedding big talent like this, you have to think about it. And there's been a lot of sale talks before. Right now, companies doing well. Like I said, in the face of a bad comedy, inflation, and a pandemic, they're recording record revenue, record profits. This is extremely attractive to stockholders, and the company is probably in a better position to sell now than they have in a long time. So it could be possible. We could see that. I just couldn't believe if this company wound up going to ESPN or Disney or something like that. But at this point, could it get any worse? Could this company be any dumber? They could sell it to a fucking herd of chimps, and I think they could. Maybe it's not a herd, a pod, a group. What is it called? What are chimps called in a group? Sell it to them, and they could write better creative shit and be a little smarter, with the presentation that you put on TV. Because like I said, for as much effort, energy, and micromanaging that they put into stuff behind the scenes, if they put that same effort forth in a creative sense, there'd be no stopping them. This company knows how to micromanage. This company knows how to shed money and make cuts and things like that. If they could apply that same level of know-how into creative, that might help things a little bit. I crack up. I couldn't believe, there's been talk about, how people are like criticizing AEW's storytelling and shit. I'm like, are you telling me that you can sit there and watch WWE and criticize the other show for their storytelling? I don't even know what planet I'm on anymore. I don't. The tribalism is starting to warp people's brains. My God, WWE offers up the most uninspiring bullshit on a weekly basis that I literally fall asleep drooling in my chair as I watch it. And yet we're going to complain about the other company's lack of storytelling? Please. There's no worse than WWE when it comes to that stuff. They are horrible. Thank you. A group of chimps is called a Congress. Sell it to a Congress of chimps. Hell yeah. Put a little tie on one of them. They can be one like Vince Chimp. That'd be great. One head guy in charge. Head chimp in charge. HCIC. Head chimp in charge. If everyone, thanks you, Jimmy Anderson, for that super chat as well. Thanks again, man. If everyone in chat put a couple of $100, we could buy the ROH library and have an endless watch along. We could. I should see what it's going for. Maybe I could put in an offer, get a loan or something. I don't know what I'd do with that fucking library. I have no idea what I do with it. Marcus the Entertainer, thank you for the $5 as well. Side note, Shayna is 41. That's right. Shayna and Asuka. I forgot about them. Asuka is 40. Natty is 39. Nia Jax is 37. Eva Marie 36. Charlotte 35. Yeah, so Shayna, that's right. I knew Shayna was up there at 40, and Asuka was as well because she just had her 40th birthday. And Natalya doesn't surprise me. I figured she'd be up there too. So none of those ages are old. Those are all younger than me. Every woman on that list is younger than me. So there is no reason why, based on what we've seen physically from Shayna or Asuka, never been a huge fan of Natalya, but physically she can still wrestle and stuff. And Charlotte, of course, who's doing top rope moonsaults onto the floor at age 35. There's no reason why any of these women, Shayna and Asuka shouldn't have at least 5 left, and Charlotte should have 10. So should, Charlotte should have 10. I would say Charlotte goes 10. At least, Charlotte's somebody that I feel like could do the Cena thing or something, like take a lighter schedule. When she gets into her 40s, start working less. You start using Charlotte as more of an attraction than just a full-blown roster member, and she starts working a little bit lighter. Wouldn't be surprised at all, provided everything stays kosher with WWE. There's no more bad feelings there or problems, and she actually stays with the company. But man, if they have Charlotte drop the belt tonight on SmackDown or something, I'd be looking for her release like the next day. We'll see. I don't think it's going to happen. Charlotte's only 1 year older than you. Yep. We getting old. Yeah, Divine Ricks, I talked about that earlier. I feel bad for Triple H. I feel bad for Triple H in terms of like the work. I know people are, Triple H is not much of a sympathetic figure. I understand that. Although the dude has been recovering from a cardiac heart surgery or something, cardiac event, and he's been recovering from this, and he has to sit there on the sidelines. I don't know if he's back, behind the scenes yet or not, if he's still convalescing, but he's got to sit there and he's got to watch all of his hard work literally be crumpled up, tossed in the toilet, and flushed. How do you think that makes him feel? Like, I just think about that because I'm a hard worker. Like, I work and I make money and stuff. And I would just hate for all of my hard work. It just sucks when you put in a really, really hard day's work and then it's all for nothing. It's for no reason. I'm like, well, fuck, I wish I could have that day back. I just think I want to spend my time doing work. I'd like to be out there living life. So if I'm going to do some work, I'd like to have something to fucking show for it and not just do a bunch of work for no reason, and it just makes me feel like I completely wasted my time. What's Triple H's motivation now? What's Triple H's motivation to really get to know these talents and to get close to them? Because the relationship could end when, the big dogs in charge just decide to release people right out from under you. And Triple H is a father figure to a lot of this talent. So I just, he's in a tough spot too. Luckily for him anyway, it looks like WWE's keeping him out mostly of the decision-making process here. It's mostly Vince and Nick Khan and whoever the fuck else. But you got to wonder how they must feel, Triple H specifically, and also Shawn and any other coach in NXT. It's not just them. There's lots of coaches there that work hard and have personal relationships with the talent and work and develop them and get them ready. It's understandable and realistic to believe that not everybody's going to make it to the main roster, and you're going to work hard to shape and mold people, and it's just not going to work out, and they're going to get released. That's the nature of the business. But there's other times when you make somebody that is clearly ready to rock and fucking roll, that is going to print money on the main roster if you keep them where they are, and WWE almost purposely, just despite NXT, Shawn, and everything they do down there, they change them up, fuck them up, and release them 3 months later. It's, I would not be feeling very good if I was either one of those guys or any trainer in NXT, because I'd start to have a serious decline and lack in motivation. What is my motivation to get up every day and be positive and happy and go into that gym and work with those kids, knowing that they're going to get their balls cut off, as soon as I'm done with them? I wish WWE would offer me a job just so I can say, no, fuck you, not in a million years, no. I don't want anything to do with you guys. Your logo, everything makes me sick. And this is coming from a 40-plus year wrestling fan. I lived, breathed, ate, slept, shat WWE. Traveled throughout the Attitude Era. Went to countless Raws, SmackDowns, house shows. I went to sold-out house shows. Sold out. To the rafters. Not even on TV. House speakers. You can't even hear the wrestler's theme music. Places packed to the rafters to watch an injured Stone Cold Steve Austin come out and stun 2 people. I have been just a huge fan of WWE. It's been a huge part of my life. I'm still a fan of them. I still want them to do good. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that you have fans on the side of this fucking dumbass war that actually want the competition to fail. I don't want the WWE to fail. I want us to give us good shit. I want them to give us good shit and stop fucking up so much. But man, it's really hard to support this company with the decisions they make when so many of these decisions, if you just would have done the opposite thing, things would have been so much better. Missed opportunity after missed opportunity, airballed layup after airballed layup. These guys cannot tie their own shoes. You can present to them on a silver platter the easiest fucking thing in the world, to make a star or make money, and they literally purposely don't do it and do the opposite. I don't know what the hell's going in through their heads back there, and what the decisions making process is that makes them say, let's take Scarlett and Kross, tear it completely apart, put a fucking gimp helmet on. You got any suspenders? Yeah, well, let me see him. Oh, yeah, that look great on him. Put that on him, too. Scarlett, we don't even need her. It's not like she's hot or anything. Wrestling fans, there's no male wrestling fans. No wrestling fan wants to see a hot chick in leather with her boobs out. Nobody wants that. Let's just send Kross out there with his gimp helmet and suspenders, and let's see what happens. What the fuck did you think was going to happen? You goddamn idiots. Oof. They're not an easy company to love, I'll tell you that, man. I'm still going to watch Raws and SmackDowns. I want to get good shows out of these guys. I was praising Raw last Monday. I'm like, those morons gave us a pretty good show. We had 4 solid in-ring matches. We had a match that wasn't repetitive repeat match nonsense like we got with Finn Balor and Gable. They were kind of sprinkling some decent stuff out there. I'm like, man, I think we got 4 or 5 decent in-ring matches out of Monday Night Raw. Hey, what more can you ask for out of that? That to me, that was fine. So they've had shines of greatness, glimmers of hope, but in the end, it's still the same old nonsense. It's the same old ridiculous decision-making. And this company's fucking hopeless. Like I said earlier, think about it. This was the company that once took stars from other companies that were floundering, that WCW or the idiots in charge there had no clue how to market or push at all or use properly. WWE brings them in, turns them into mega stars. That's not how they are now. They don't have that ability anymore. They don't know how to do that. Now they're taking perfectly good stars that should take no effort to make a star, and they're ruining them, and they're failing at that. If Stone Cold Steve Austin, if Stunning Steve Austin today was signed by WWE, they'd put a helmet on him and release him by March. He would be nothing. He wouldn't even have a chance to get out of the blocks. He wouldn't even have a chance to talk. Even if he said something, it would be scripted bullshit. He would never be able to connect. He would never become Austin 316. You would never hear that promo. He would never allow to be himself. They would never allow him for his real personality to come through and shit like that. Everything that made Stone Cold over, everything that got The Rock over. Remember when The Rock was being booed and shit? Put a microphone in front of his face and just let him trash the crowd for a little bit, and next thing you know, holy shit, this guy can talk. He's got the gift of gab. He's got nursery rhymes. The fans, he's funny. Let's run with it. And The Rock and Austin, those are the exact type of stars that would not make it today. There are probably lots of potential Rock and Austins out there in the wrestling pool right now. Many of them could even be in WWE that WWE will never be able to realize. They won't even know. So I think WWE, a lot of people in creative aren't even aware that some people can cut a promo. Like, that's how oblivious they are to the talent. They don't get to know them. They don't study them. They don't see what they do in NXT. They don't try to write material or give them storylines that would be something that their character would do. They don't put any effort, at all. So I think if someone like that came along now, it's the complete opposite of what WWE used to do. They used to be able to find these things. They used to be able to take these positives and accentuate them, and make guys like Mick Foley. You think Mick Foley would get over in today's WWE? No. A lot of those guys from the Attitude Era wouldn't make it now because that's not the way the system is. And the ratings and the TV and the overall interest from wrestling fans is proving that. And it's a shame. By the way, can you guys smash that thumbs up button for me? Try to get those likes up for me since we got a couple of hundred people in here. I'd appreciate it. But I got to start getting out of here too because I got to head to work soon. But let me finish up a couple of super chats and we'll mention one or two other tidbits of news before we get up out of here. And thank you, Divine Ricks, for that $5 again. It sucks that WWE released these wrestlers around the same time ROH is closing down. I wish them all the best. I mentioned that earlier too. Not that there's any rule that says WWE can't do this right after that, but Ring of Honor literally just announced the fact that they are at least temporarily folding, and many people in that company are now going to be looking for work, and now WWE floods that free agent market with nearly 24 talent with major TV time, and that sucks too. It sucks for everybody involved, because AEW can't and won't hire everybody. They're going to have to pick the best talents there, so I'd definitely be bringing in Keith Lee. I'm not even sure about Kross. I think Kross can find stuff to do elsewhere, MLW, Japan, shit like that. Not that he can't come into AEW. I think he certainly could, but I almost think Keith Lee would be there before anybody would. Keith Lee would be the very first guy I'm going out and I'm trying to sign if I'm Tony Khan. And in terms of this entire batch, I think Keith Lee honestly might be the only guy. I might bring in Oni Lorcan or something, just for some dark elevation or, solid matches for, higher level stars to beat or something. Like I said, I'd bring in Harry Smith. I would love to see Harry Smith wrestle in the Owen Hart Cup. But other than that, I don't know if there's a ton of names here that Tony Khan and AEW is going to, run and snatch up. They're not Impact. They don't just sign everybody. They sign people they think they can use. Not everybody does get jobs. So I think they take 1, 2, 3 names max here, might turn up at least for a one-shot deal or maybe a full-blown contract in WWE. Mia Yim is another one. Mia, I should have mentioned. I don't think I mentioned her earlier, did I? Did I not even mention Mia Yim? You talk about her. We all know how fucked up that situation is, and WWE is now releasing couples together, Kross and Scarlett, Mia Yim and Keith Lee. Is that shit even legal? So Mia Yim is another one. She, I think the women's division is, as much as it's improved in AEW, still needs work, and Mia Yim could offer a lot. Plus, she's got experience, a lot of it, and Mia Yim, she's kind of, she's up there too. I don't know how old she is, but I'd gather maybe late 30s, close to 40. So Mia in AEW, I think could be an excellent personality in the locker room, type of thing. So I'd probably target her too, and Ember Moon, obviously. So yeah, maybe a few more. Keith Lee, Kross, Ember, Mia for sure. And Harry Smith would just be nice, So anyway, what do y'all think about, I said I was going to mention this before we left here. I figure I'd do that now. What do y'all think about the Samurai del Sol and Amanda Huber and Chris Jericho stuff? So for those who don't know, the former Kalisto wrestled a tag match against FTR on Dynamite. And prior to the show, by the way, Kalisto, for some reason, I am blocked by him. I have no idea why. I think I might have said something on Twitter about Lucha things one time, but it wasn't even in a derogatory sense. I even think Kalisto himself pokes fun at his Lucha things promo. So I have no clue why this fucker has blocked me. Don't even care. However, at first I was a little bit kind of on his side on this one because he tweets out prior to Dynamite that he just prayed or something, and he spoke to John, and he's ready to go out there and kick ass for AEW, and he spelled, Brody Lee, John Huber's name, John. And I believed it's Jon. Or is it the other way? Fuck, I forgot. He misspelled John. I don't even know how it's fucking spelled, to be honest. So he misspelled John, and Jericho quotes the tweet and says, "You spelled his name wrong." And then underneath it, Amanda Huber, Brody Lee's wife, basically defends that and says, yeah, all this name-dropping bullshit, and basically gave Kalisto shit. Both of them did. Kind of attacked him for this post. And I'm like, well, that's kind of shitty. What the fuck cares if he spelled his name wrong? If somebody spelled my name wrong, I wouldn't give one iota of a shit. Spell my name with 2 G's at the end. I don't care. I won't even waste my time correcting you because I don't care. And so I found that really odd. I'm like, is that really that big a deal? It seemed like a nice, heartfelt tribute, but then, there might be more to this than meets the eye. And for Jericho to call him out for something so stupid, for either omitting to put an H in John or putting one in, I don't know which it is, to call him out for that, I was like, well, that's kind of shitty. What the fuck or whatever. So, then you wonder their history in WWE. Do they have some sort of fucking problem there? Is there some sort of issue we don't know about? And then there was talk that a lot of people felt like maybe Kalisto's post was a little bit pandering. Maybe he's trying to get in good with the AEW audience, trying to help get himself a contract because he is not signed by AEW. They just brought him in. So they feel like it was more of a name-dropping situation to better himself. Maybe it was, but I don't even know if I'm going to bother going out of my way to even fucking call him out for that. I wouldn't even care, really. A lot of people can probably see through that. Well, apparently it didn't go over very well. Kalisto has deleted the tweet, and I don't think he's going to be invited back. There's definitely more to that story than what we know. A lot of people attacked Jericho and Amanda Huber, say they came off as huge assholes. They did. But if there is something about this that we don't know, maybe it was justified. Maybe there's more to the story. There's something that they know about him or some past issue or something. Kalisto and Brody Lee or Luke Harper were in WWE together, right? They might have worked a couple times. Don't know what their personal relationship was. Maybe Jericho knew that Brody didn't like him. And Jericho's like, that's kind of shitty for you to, say that you're praying to Brody Lee and shit and just trying to, it's kind of transparent, basically. That's what I'm guessing Jericho's view on this is, or maybe that's what he thinks. And for Amanda to chime in on this too, she got attacked by a lot of people, for it. I'm kind of indifferent about it. I'm like, I don't know why they would give a shit about Samurai del Sol's tweet. But at the same time, maybe there is a reason. So in a lot of ways, I don't know where I stand. I think it was kind of silly for Jericho, to call him out, and Jericho's got his own fucking problems about saying and doing stupid shit. So I found that odd that he would single him out. And then for Amanda to kind of chime in and back it up was a little bit shocking. So who knows what's going on there. Interesting situation, though. And sucks for Kalisto. Looks like AEW is not going to be inviting him back because there's some sort of heat there that we don't know about. Weird stuff. The Iron Minotaur. Thank you very much, man, for the $10. At times like this, I would love to see a video series called How Good Mic Work Would Handle a WWE Pay-Per-View Storyline, etc. Keep up the great work. Love your content. Thank you, man. I'd love to do some fantasy booking stuff, but, man, I just don't like to sit down and think and write a lot. So I'd have to put a lot of time into that, and I can come up with ideas off the top of my head, but really sitting down and, and booking something out, I don't know. I got a busy life, but maybe one day we can do something like that. We are going to have a very interesting video coming up in a couple of days on Transitional Champions. It's a Patreon sponsored review. I'll have that up next week. just talking about the various transitional champions and how they were used and what they meant, and how significant their runs were or were not. Interesting topic. We'll be shooting the shit on that later on this week. So keep a lookout. Kalisto definitely made the list. That's for sure. I don't know what the fuck is going on back there, but I found the whole thing kind of funny. I didn't find it like really that dramatic or really that crazy. It was, he said something, Jericho called him out, Amanda backed it up, fans had a whole bunch of shit to say about it, but at the end of the day, we're talking about a misspelled first name here. So clearly there's got to be more to it than that. I shouldn't tell anybody what to care about. Amanda's been dealt a horrible loss here. She lost her husband. She's a single mom now. I have nothing but sympathy for her, but at the same time, I don't even know why this is something she'd give a shit about, which makes me wonder what really is going on. There's got to be more to the story, because if it's simply about one letter in a first name, then yeah, you're assholes, because who fucking cares? But if there's more to it, I'm willing to hear what that more is. Got to be fair, Got to be fair. The problem with WWE, they only have one. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that, JJ Gilman? I think you should rephrase that to the problems with WWE. But yeah, they are focused. They are so desperate for an Emmy. I hope they never get it. I never, ever want Kevin Dunn to rub his big fucking Bucky Beaver teeth with that fucking trophy. Ever. Don't want it to happen. Hope they never, ever, ever, ever in a million years get an Emmy. Can you vote against them? How do you vote for Emmys? How do you go on Emmy.com and vote against somebody? If anybody knows how to do that, let me know, because I want to vote against WWE 10 million times. I would just love it if those fuckers went to their grave never getting that accomplishment. That's what they deserve. Fuck them. They got enough released wrestlers to start a federation. They damn sure do. We could have another one out there. I mean, I feel like WWE, they gave up on NXT. The NXT as we knew, that was WWE's super indie fed that they basically created on their own. They recognized that fans needed a break, a change, something different to look at than WWE, Raw, and SmackDown programming. So they basically created their own indie promotion during the days of, we're just going to sign everybody, and they're going out and raiding Ring of Honor and taking all the great talent from the UK and bringing them all in under one developmental umbrella. It was fucking off the hook. But then the pandemic hit, AEW came along, and I feel like WWE, I don't know why WWE feels like AEW and the NXT as we knew it couldn't coexist. It was like, they weren't, it's not like they were getting slaughtered in the ratings. We had the Wednesday Night Wars for a little bit, and AEW won, I'd say 90% of those battles, but a couple 100,000 at the most viewers. It's not like it was a slaughter. If you move NXT to a different night and keep NXT the way it was, I mean, I think 2015, 16, 17, even 18 NXT is better than any wrestling promotion over the past 10 years or so. There was nothing at all wrong with that. That could have been, really true hardcore wrestling fan competition like us. If they still had NXT the way it was 5 years ago and we had AEW the way it is now, that's all I'd need. I don't need Raw and SmackDown. Maybe WWE feels that way. Maybe WWE feels if they kept NXT going the way it was, and you've got NXT and AEW kind of battling for, the top level indie stars and putting on the best matches, SmackDown and Raw, might start to be forgotten about by, wrestling fans like us. Not the mainstreams. 5-year-olds don't give a fuck. They'll watch Raw and SmackDown. But us, if I had that NXT and I have this AEW, honestly, I wouldn't watch blue or red brand ever again. It's all I'd need. So WWE either feels that way too and feels like Raw and SmackDown could suffer if they, kept NXT rolling the way it was, or they feel like two super indie feds kind of thing can't coexist at the same time, and they basically just submitted, and conceded and released a ton of their talent. They don't seem to be concerned at all with some of these people going over to AEW, because there's some big level names here that are all gone and could be turning up there soon. And they're just going to make NXT completely different. They've stopped trying to make NXT comparable to AEW. They now want to make it comparable to themselves. It's because they're in this bubble. Have you ever noticed that? There's a lot of these company-wide people, Stephanie and Bruce and Vince and Road Dogg, and anybody who's been there for a long time, they're in this just bubble of stupid to where they're so detached from regular life, regular reality, what fans want. They are so in their own world. And I don't understand what kind of lives they lead. Do they watch regular TV like people? Do they do what people do? What do they do that makes easy things so difficult for them to accomplish? I don't know. But I could sit here and I could rant on WWE all day. I think it's pretty safe to say that the majority of the fans are pretty disappointed and saddened by so many of the released names, well over 100 now since 2020, that are gone. And some of those names, like I said, you can expect. Some of them are complete bullshit. And a lot of these releases happen to wrestlers that, by no fault of their own, were stripped of a prosperous, successful, lucrative career because WWE can't complete a fucking sentence in the creative team back there. It's just it's sad. So best of luck to all the talent released here. Best of luck to any future talent that might be let go, in the upcoming future, days, weeks, months, whatever. Hopefully this is it for now, but wouldn't be surprised if we did see a few more happen after this. And hey, at least it makes the wrestling landscape a bit exciting, gives us a reason to come up here and talk about stuff, and really makes us want to eyeball AEW a little bit more, because now Bray Wyatt is free to turn up anywhere he wants. He tweeted out in response yesterday, so he kind of quoted Jake Roberts' WrestleMania 6 promo a little bit and said some other kind of cryptic shit. So I think Wyndham is about to appear before our eyes at some point, and now with all these releases, AEW might even want to fast track that if he does turn up there. So next Wednesday could be interesting. By the way, I apologize for this past Wednesday. We did the AEW Dynamite watch along, and with 30 minutes left in the show, I've been getting this reminder to restart my computer because it's due for an update or something. I saw it all day. So the reminder comes up, and I go click, in what I think I'm clicking delay, I click OK. And I hit OK, and the computer, boom, restarts right in the middle of the stream. I went right on Twitter. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I guess I'm just going to watch the last half an hour. That will never happen again. I'm sorry for that. I wasn't even mad. I just kind of laughed. I'm like, Greg, you fucking moron. So anyway, I had a little technical difficulty hiccup on Wednesday, but I assure you that won't happen again. We'll be back up here this Wednesday for the watch along to watch the whole show, and hopefully we will see Wyndham return. So just to recap before I get out of here, tomorrow, Winged Eagle Podcast, normal time, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. We'll talk Rampage, we'll talk SmackDown, and we'll talk any other fallout that we learn about these releases, and if there's any more. We'll also get into some wrestling news and stuff. Pretty quick podcast tomorrow, probably an hour and a half. Sunday and Monday, I'm off. No watch along on Sunday, and then Monday night, I'm skipping this Raw. Gonna go just do some personal stuff, go out to dinner, that sort of thing. Raw reviews have been doing terrible numbers, and I think I'm gonna stop doing them for a while until I feel a reason to. So we're going to take 1 week off, though. Probably be back the week after that for the Go Home Survivor Series show, which it might be, or it might be the week after that. But I might take a Monday Night Raw off here or there between now and the beginning of the year, because shit on Mondays sucks. So you guys have a great rest of your afternoon and have a great weekend. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you tomorrow for the Winged Eagle Podcast. Thanks for being here to talk about all these releases at a very rare time on a Friday afternoon, and we'll be back in 24 hours to do it again.